offense that way. Like Man United tries to do this a lot as well. It's
Yeah,
just like there's way more chances of you just having two on the ball, two guys blocking off the ball when they once the center back
exactly.
gets it, and there's just nothing for them to do.
And yeah, that was basically
I'd
exactly
rather
what was
just play
happening.
centrally.
Because
Yeah.
this guy isn't a natural wing back at all. He's a centre back playing right back. So like you said, he's not a wing back that's providing this really good outlet down this side where he can like
Mhm.
take this guy on, beat him,
Yeah,
and
like
go
if
to the
that's
byline.
yeah, if he can beat that guy, then yes, I mean Palmer can drop down a bit or move in a little, be a support piece. Like you
Yeah,
can make a mini triangle if he can beat his man. But if he can't, then kind of just making things up
exactly.
at this point.
And
I
yeah, they
mean,
basically
yeah,
never really got the ball forward in a controlled manner. Um,
yeah. If you okay,
whereas,
so give the ball back to Silva, right?
right,
And then drop Enzo in
yeah,
like a support. Yeah. So now that if you have that, even that's a little cramped, but that's gonna create quite a few options.
it makes them
Because
make a
now
decision at least.
like Chiwell or what's his sorry, I'm butchering his name.
Chilwell.
Chilwell, he's gonna be open. So if you give it to Bernat, how do you think the defense would shift? Because now Chilwell's gonna be like comfortably open
So
and he
now they're
can.
probably taking this angle.
Okay, then
He's
Cassiano's gonna
probably
open,
yeah.
right? Or well, if they're doing it like that, then Chilwell's gonna be
He'll
open
probably
more.
slide down. He'd probably slide here. He'd slide here, and he'd slide here. And then they probably, but then that creates a pocket for someone like Sterling to move in here, um, or Gallagher, for
And then
example. And then
exactly,
say
yeah.
if the
So that
centre back
that's
follows Gallagher, but that's the theory of it. I don't know why they even started. But say that's Nkunku, right? Moving from the striker position deeper, and someone follows him. That at least creates one an additional receiver there, but two, it creates the space for Sterling.
yeah.
So like you might be able to play that back to the keeper and just launch it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
But what were you gonna say?
No, no, I was agreeing with you. I mean, yeah, in general, it's just pretty cramped and like I feel like they could have just done a different formation, to be honest, like bringing more guys centrally, because there's just not
Yeah,
a lot of ways for them to create space. I do think it's unrealistic to just think that though, if Sterling dropped back, right, the guy isn't gonna like instantly keep up with him. So I think there's just gonna be that moment where
yeah.
you're
He
gonna have
can
enough
drop into
space,
this
and then
space
Gallagher,
and
yeah,
then drive.
Gallagher can get the ball. They could even do switch play if they really are that good at pressuring. Like he gets it to Gallagher and then immediately switches it over to Matt Duque, and then that means
Huh?
yeah, and then Palmer has space. See, Palmer has that space to move through, and Palmer.
Well, that's the
And,
thing. So they had these two,
mm,
and then
mhm,
Palmer would drop into the half space, and then Gallagher would stay up.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
That's terrible profiling, right?
mhm.
Chukwuemeka. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Stupid man. And then if you compare that to what Liverpool were doing, I mean, you lot probably talk,
Mhm.
wow, I'm trying to set this up because it's going to take a while.
Mhm. I
Um,
mean, obviously, someone like Trent can just rewarp. Well, Trent's kind of been inverted, but you just wait. Trent there, he's
Trent
not
didn't play
there.
today, or didn't play most of the game because
Wait,
he was hurt.
so who was like there? Who was like there? What was their back for?
There was an academy kid called Connor Bradley who came in instead as the right back, and he stayed wide.
And was he
He
great
didn't
like for
invert at
takedowns and
all,
everything?
but yeah, he was taking his guy on, getting past him,
Okay then
crossing
yeah,
it.
then that's really
Very
valuable.
traditional fullback in that sense. Yeah, it felt like that anyway, watching it.
Mhm. I mean, we're very
Yeah, ever in his life. So this was kind of how Liverpool were building up. Um, and then, yeah, exactly. Like Benoit was just getting skinned, Chilwell was getting skinned by this 20-year-old kid who's just come in.
yeah.
Yeah. We let that happen because it's Anfield.
Anfield is uh,
Yeah. But they were able to get the ball through lines of pressure when Chelsea were trying, because Chelsea were kind of not even that aggressive in their press, and they haven't really been that all season. They have this kind of, I mean, we talked about it like a week ago, or whatever, with this kind of 4-4-2 kind of option thing. They'd move it to this fullback, and because they didn't believe in Jones as a ball player, whoops, because Chelsea didn't believe in Gomez as a ball player, they'd probably jump on Jones. I mean, Gomez. Jones would drop into the space. Caicedo would be pulled out. Then Jones is good enough on the ball as to where he can turn here, or he'd move it back, and then you'd have like Palmer isn't good enough to jump that far without creating this passing angle. Enzo isn't good enough at all in terms of just anything defensively. He can't block space or anything like that. So Jota, I think, yeah, and that's the thing. Like Enzo would be sort of in this space here, I think, but it was really Caicedo that was being forced to run all the way here. But I don't think Enzo can do it anywhere. Like he's
mm,
because I'd argue, right? Like, say if they move this ball here, um, Caicedo jumps or whatever, or say Gallagher jumps,
mhm,
you play it
yeah.
back, um, and then you move it to
You still have
this
AMA.
area here,
Yeah, AMA has so much
right?
space to press up into.
So whoever
That's gonna
jumps him
create.
here, either way, I don't think Enzo's
Mhm.
closing quickly enough, and
You
he
can hit
wasn't.
Diaz out of this situation.
And they did. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. He had so many options out of this situation, but most often it was Jota dropping into the space because Szoboszlai would kind of occupy Enzo.
Yeah.
And then Jota would drop into the space, receive, and then they just look to go direct to Nunes because
Yeah,
their
because
centre back
Nunes
isn't
has
set.
the space in between.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 He's the slowest player in the league. Yeah,
Mhm.
Disasi's really slow as well. He's yeah, but he's centre back quick. He's not right back quick. In terms of a burst, when you're going burst for burst, like he's getting done. So yeah, they were just able to get the ball through lines of pressure really quickly. Palmer was really also Kanate was really good at just when he wasn't being pressured or whatever, because Chelsea was scared of getting the ball played through them. Like he was just finding Nunes, like just pinging it, and Nunes would win the ball over here because again, those centre backs can't deal with that amount of space at all. Like if you're talking about the best pressing teams, like say Arsenal or Man City or whatever, you look at their centre backs and it's Gabriel, Saliba, Diaz, Ake, like these guys who can really defend massive portions of space by themselves. But these guys are just too slow. Yeah, they're too slow and they're too weak to block that level of space against someone as quick as Nunes without getting punished for it. Yeah. And then you had Jones dropping into this space, and he's great in this position as well. Like, it was a disaster. Yeah. Yeah. And then you'd have three people run, like Enzo would be here. I mean, I guess I'll just use the entire width of the pitch here. Um, like it basically felt like this, bro. Like
Mhm.
Caicedo just getting jumped. Wait.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they played into their strength by one, having no one to occupy or draw out these centre backs. So every time you tried to play it forward to the striker, Jackson, yeah, he's in AFCON right now.
But how would VVD be drawn in though, so that they could break the defensive line? What's
So
the
the thing with
strategy?
the best thing about Nico Jackson is nothing like he's awful in the box, but he's incredible. He's got that length and girth. He's fast. He's technical. He's got a great first
Mhm.
touch. He knows how to do this one-touch
Mhm.
play, especially with wingers. Like he knows how to bring them into the play. And
Mhm.
he knows especially
Oh,
how to kind of fight with centre backs and then bait them into following him into space. And then oftentimes that would create like a one-on-one for Palmer or a one-on-one for Madueke or a one-on-one for Mudryk. And that, that's an ideal situation. You always want your attackers one-on-one.
mhm.
Um, and that's just what he's good at. But they didn't play a striker today because their only other striker, well, one of them was Nkunku and he's coming back from injury. So he couldn't play the whole game. The other one was Mark Breuer. Yeah, he was great when he got on. And then Mark Breuer, I think the ownership want to sell him, so they don't want to play him right now. And Pochettino's a slave to the ownership, just as any Chelsea manager is right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you had this situation where if you lose the ball, if you bring it, you have to play it into Caicedo because you want your holding midfielder on the ball. He would get jumped. He'd lose the ball, and then now it's a 4v2, a 5v2. And obviously,
Mhm.
Liverpool are always gonna rely on their counter pressing. So say if they play the ball long to Nunes, he loses the first header.
Yeah.
You have all of these
Mhm.
players to fall onto the ball
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
just push you back and devastate you as soon as they get it.
Yeah. That's true.
So yeah, I
They have.
think you hit the nail on the head by saying. I mean, I don't think that, like I said it in chat earlier. There's no one in the world that I would trust right now, especially against Liverpool's press, to play as a single pivot. Like I don't think there's midfielders in the world that can do that right now, just because
Yeah.
of how
You need to be
advanced.
like
You have to be You have to
Kind
be
of get it
Busquets.
because look here. If that single pivot did work, right? Press Gallagher in between the center backs, even though they don't care, right? We know they don't
Yeah.
care, but that's still like five. No, is it a numbers advantage? No, it's not actually. That's
You at
five
least
plus.
have you're at least going man for man. We're staying high. Yeah. Like, because usually if you're saying your midfielders are staying high, they're at least pinning someone back with them. But
Hmm.
Chelsea's weren't doing that because Enzo isn't good at receiving the ball at all. And Palmer, he's great on the half turn, but Liverpool knew as soon as he got the ball that he'd have no one to pass to anyway, so they were fine with allowing them to get it.
Yeah, and because everyone's so high up and no one's dropped back as a support piece. I mean, and Enzo's kind of in line, but he's too far away once you like actually get the
He
ball
was
to him.
honestly more of a here, to be honest. Like
Oh, then yeah,
he
like
was hiding
that's
from the ball.
honestly, yeah. Your pivot actually needs to be a pivot, like in between the lines. Like he needs to
Exactly.
step up.
Um, yeah, I don't think
No,
Enzo
I'm talking
because
about
like
Caicedo. I'm talking about Caicedo. I'm saying if he's gonna be the single pivot, he actually needs to drop up and down in between the lines so he can be a
yeah.
connecting supporting piece.
And again, I
Like, or
just
else we genuinely have no
unless
one
you're
here.
Busquets, where you can just take out an entire line of pressure by yourself, it is impossible to come up against a Liverpool team that, they play the ball in here. You get jumped. He's not even a six. Like Caicedo's an eight. Caicedo's a number eight, like N'Golo Kante, who can occasionally drop into the pivot and give you like an extra body to bounce off. Like that's how Brighton used him. He was just a guy that they'd use to bounce the ball off in these third man
Yeah, he has these
combinations.
moments where he could turn the corner and like really kickstart your offense, but he really was
Yeah,
like more
but
so
yeah,
a
he's
pseudo
never meant
defender.
to be the first receiver. Um, and then that's exactly how Chelsea used him today. He doesn't have any of the attributes for that to happen. He honestly did very, very well. Like, most people of his level as a six today would have given away the ball a lot more, would have conceded a lot more. Like, he did great in the terrible role that he was put in to not concede more than that. Yeah, like we said, he shot 11 times. No, never. Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, but
Even
Rice,
though
I mean
he's
Rice, when he gets a chance to, like his whole point is to be disciplined though. Like him passing forward, make turnovers, and then you guys would call him erratic with the ball. Sure.
yeah, exactly. That was the Partey problem last season, and now we fixed it. But it's fans, yeah, fans and agendas. I'm just gonna quickly pull up
Didn't
what
you
we did
didn't you
against
want
Forest.
didn't you didn't you want him to be good, to be fair? I don't even think you were originally like a
Well, of
hater.
course you want your players to be good, but we knew him in midfield wouldn't really work.
Just because, yeah, he's oppressing. No, go ahead. All I was gonna say is he's. Oh, okay. Go ahead then. Exactly. Like he's closer to this aggressive Go ahead.
Just say it, bro.
Oh,
Yeah. Twinks.
yeah, man. No, like what makes it nasty is go ahead.
Yeah. Forest made a lot of substitutions, so I'm not gonna put names over their heads, but I really like what we did yesterday. Um, for a number of
Yeah.
reasons.
I mean, yeah, because like I just think when you look at Kai, firstly, is when he's in tighter spaces, just his what's it called? His ball handling isn't that his ball carrying isn't that good. So it's like you're not asking him. He's not gonna be able to just press in the space for you. With the ball. Without the ball, he likes pressing forward a lot and doesn't drop back a lot. So it's like he's not a support piece. And then even when I would see the things that they say, okay, when you guys are running your system and he and what's it called, Rice moves across towards the center back, you'd have like either Kai or someone drop back. Like Kai has not really been comfortable handling the ball in those situations either. So it's like I think he's kind of like he's been pretty good in the final third for you guys sometimes, but overall, like I agree, I don't really see the point in that. And then Jesus has kind of been all over the place and build up because of this. Like, no, he's been great. He's been great. I'm just saying that, like, you know what I mean, where he's had to drop back, relocate, like, from everywhere at every stage compared to what he should normally be, which is like this high level supporting midfielder that can score. Go ahead.
He was beautiful yesterday, man. So yeah, so the team in red is Forest. They obviously wanted to defend really deep because they're aware, they're less talented than we are, whatever. Um, and usually the problem that we've had this season is that we're quite predictable against these deeper defenses. Like we just move the ball out wide and then try and cut it back for like Erdegaard or something, and then get a low quality shot out of it. But yesterday, what we saw in terms of rotations in the build up was really, really good. So like one of the rotations that we had in the second half, Erdegaard would rotate there, Saka would rotate inside, White would go outside. You might have Smith Rowe dropping here, Jesus coming here, Zinchenko would push into this space as well. Um, and you had so many options compared to what we've had earlier in the season. So like Erdegaard would be the first receiver. Then say this person comes out to meet him. We might move it back to Saliba. Um, Move it out wide to White. White would play a 1-2 with Saka, and then all of a sudden, now that you have Saka here, because I think with a lot of coaches they say the goal is to have your best players as close to the center of the pitch as possible. And we weren't able to do that much this season. We often had him all the way out here, you know, getting the ball here, facing backwards. Like that's just a disaster. But now, because yeah, um, he was able to drift inside and have these combinations. Erdegaard would play it here, and we generated a chance like this on the other side of the pitch with Jesus coming towards the goal and he hit the post here. Um, but yeah, but being able to have your best players closer to the goal is important. But that's only allowed if your central midfielder here actually has some gravity to him and can receive the ball and turn and play combinations with people, which is what Kai Havertz can't do, but is what Emil Smith Rowe can do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
that's the benefit of actually having a midfielder playing midfield. It allowed Zinchenko, instead of having to play all the time alongside Rice, trying to help him out or whatever, he was actually able to push a lot higher into this kind of situation. And
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden you're overloading so much more often where you'd have these situations. Martinelli's running in behind. Okay, you have to close that off. You have this player in front of Zinchenko, and then you have like Arsenal trying to create this 1-2-3 combination here. And it didn't work for us most of the time yesterday, but you saw the blueprint kind of get laid out. And then you'd have Jesus pulling over here sometimes. You'd have Saka coming over here. Like the goal of our idea of positional play, it's not to have players restricted to zones. It's to have, well, you're having players getting restricted into zones, but they're allowed to move into these different zones so long as someone's filling into their zone. So if
Mm-hmm.
Saka can play as the striker, but that would mean that White would have to be here. Or Rice can push into this space, but that would mean Odegaard would have to go here. So, and that's, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we were able to do. And that eventually, because yeah, teams can, for 70 minutes of the game, they can decide, okay, we're not gonna jump, we're not gonna follow you. but eventually a player is gonna get, they're gonna follow the ball, they're gonna make a mistake, and it's about being able to capitalize on those moments of lost focus because defending this deep for this long against such talented players.
One option I found is Florida Shuttle Services on Pembridge Avenue in Orlando. Is that the one you want?
Hopefully, for the rest of the season, we play an actual midfield, and that allows us to play
So
actual
you
football.
at least think like, because so Marcus, do you think that less? Do you think there'll be less on the wing Martinelli actions because of this though? Really? But so wait, so was Smith dropping from the middle to out wide as a support piece when Martinelli had the ball?
So I've got the image on the screen now of one of the rotations that we ran. So this is Gabriel having the ball on the left side of the pitch. He's playing it to, I think, Zinchenko, who's pressed a lot higher than he normally is, which is a good thing because he's talented enough where you want him in these situations. You have Smith Rowe here, and that's what you were just saying. He's making a run to pull this midfielder with him to kind of free up space. Yeah, he's underlapping Martinelli, and that's what D King's just said. Like, yeah, Martinelli's on the touchline, he's playing as a traditional winger, but now you actually have someone for him to bounce off. Like, Emil Smith Rowe's moving towards him in anticipation that Zinchenko is going to get this ball and want an option on this side, so we can bounce it off Smith Rowe while he's
And like
bouncing
you
it off
said, it's
Smith
making
Rowe.
more space in the middle for somebody to
Exactly.
drop down in.
So if I draw up this action quickly, um, I think it was like this. Yeah. Um, ball's moving out here.
Hmm.
Um, so this player is following Smith Rowe. So one, you can just play this pass into Jesus, um, and then you have him close to goal, and maybe you have people running off him. But we didn't do that in that instance. I don't think we moved it out wide, and Smith Rowe was able to receive, and then that he would just kind of hold the ball up a little bit. Zinchenko would kind of push into this space, and now say if you have these three players in proximity, you have these talented players in proximity with each other. They're able to bounce the ball off each other. So say Smith Rowe plays into Zinchenko, Martinelli makes this movement in behind, and then Smith Rowe moves into this spot. Like you have options there. You can play it into Martinelli. You can play it into Smith Rowe. You can have Martinelli move back wide. Like it's just about creating as many options for your attacking players as possible. And I think we did that really well yesterday.
For sure. I mean, yeah, if Rowe can continuously be someone who can, rotate around the spaces and be aware, to either be a support piece, press with the ball, pass out, um, that's going to be really valuable for this team entering now in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
I guess my only question is, if you feel like he's this quality, first of all, someone else now has to go to the bench because let's be honest, Kai is
I
going to
think
need
Kai
get
has
playing
to go
time
to the
now.
bench, but he's a highest paid player, so I don't know how that's going to work in
I'm
terms of.
saying that's like, and then if you send someone else to the bench, I feel like that messes with your team because like Rice is
Yeah,
so good for this like team in terms of it being. He's kind of because he is playing a double pivot somewhat, but he's still having a lot of pressure because every time he gets the ball, there's two on him, and he has to turn the corner and then find somebody who drops down. And there's a lot
right,
of times where guys don't drop down, and he still has to find something. And
right.
like you don't just find central defensive midfielders that patient and not
Yes,
like aggressive that often. So it's like I don't know if you can bench him, especially when Kai's not bringing something to you. I think if you guys didn't have a a wing piece like Martinelli, who's so good, right? If you didn't have that, then Kai would have been fine here because then he can play that more pressing role and just work out of final third situations as a trail man. He can do these quick 1-2s with someone like Shevchenko and Jesus or Jesus. But first of all, you just have a much better option in Martinelli. So it's like, yeah, to this day, I think the Kai signing really is just. Mhm. No, I get what you're saying. Like Kai's just his decision making's not. I'm agreeing with you. Firstly, I'm saying that the only way for Kai to positively function while being on this team is when he's not having to have the responsibility of a holding midfielder who's having to float around, drop down, and be a
Right.
support piece. When unfortunately, that's what they've picked him to do. And it's not as if he's a player that had. I don't even know because it's never like he was never the player that he had these ball carrying skills that were so like special, right? And because of
Yeah.
that, we envision that if we put him in a different role, that defensively, like he could be coming from a defensive position and still give us tons of value because most guys who have to play that holding midfielder role aren't as good as dribblers as him or something like that, right? That's not his style. His whole form of being this offensive guy was with pace, counterattack situations, coming in from the wing or in between the wingers and inverting. Like that's built more on in motion or final third play. And as someone like that who's naturally built to look into press into space, to now just like constantly look to drop back, pass up, and then move towards the what's it called the wing, not the wing, the sideline, move towards the sideline and look to be a support piece. It's just a whole different style of perception that I just and skill set that I just don't think like
Yeah.
he has. And unless he develops something like crazy, like his passing can take like this leap where maybe he can switch play in a way that's deadly more out of these situations when he's dropping back. Or if he could just straight up become like that valuable as someone pressing up. Like if he could become that good at that, but that's just kind of unrealistic at this stage. Like how old is he? Like is
He's
that
like
what maybe they're buying? Like
probably
is
24, 25.
I'm saying like I don't see like some random leap where now
Okay.
yeah, I just don't see this random leap coming in. I don't see like a leap coming
24.
in. We could even go to his previous years. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But, so why was Smith Rowe not playing
He
before he
was
like at
coming back
all?
from injury. You know,
So it
he
really,
had a he.
so it
They
was
say
really
he had a groin
so
injury for 1.5 years.
so
I think he had an STD.
so,
Um.
wait, actually,
So
wait, he had a groin injury for 1.5 years. No,
yeah,
that can't be a groin injury, big dog. Nah, that you're right then. Honestly, that can't be like.
I'm gonna try and find. Nah, he kept like he came back for like 1 or 2 games and then got injured again.
Nah, what's up a groin injury is that, man? I don't know, man. That
How do you
don't
find
sound like one
fucking
to me.
injury history on this shit?
Nigga had a sickness. Honestly, all I'm seeing is Arsenal lost last year and then just jumped the gun. And I mean, I guess I kind of get it because Kai's like this eccentric, high octane forward that can like if you guys do get in counterattack situations, Kai can be valuable, or at least what he was. He was like at Chelsea, like that skill set. But that's not what he's here for. Exactly. So it's like exactly.
But I
And
think
what
this
you're
year
pointing.
now, because someone asked me yesterday, like why we don't. Well, it wasn't. Someone didn't ask me. It was on the timeline, and I said that the difference is this year people are sitting back more against us. So if we try and move the ball really quickly through these lines of pressure, and we lose the ball while committing all of these players forward, they they're willing now to just go on on the transition and run us down, which is kind of what stopped us at the end of last season. Like we tried to move the ball forward way too quickly, and teams would sit back against us, wait for their moment, and then just take out our weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like I remember one goal we conceded against West Ham. Um, Thomas Partey receives it on the half turn, and he's trying to play forward straight away. Um, and then the ball just gets taken off us, and they get a penalty out of it because we're desperately trying to move the ball forward as quickly as possible. Whereas this year, now we recognize that teams are sitting back, so however fast we move the ball, the other team are going to move it back even faster than us. It's kind of like a basketball kind of thing. Like Arteta's called it the basketball rule, where the quicker you move the ball up the pitch, the faster it's going to come back at you. So we're deliberately slowing it down, taking more touches, making more passes,
I mean, no,
Um,
he's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's the same. It's like a made shot. He's kind of right.
yeah.
It's a good concept.
And I guess
Yeah.
that's where Kai Havertz has his utility. Especially in big games. Like I don't mind seeing him play big games. It's more against smaller teams where I just don't think he's doing anything. But against bigger teams, he kind of lets you bypass that basketball rule because he's so good. The one thing he is good at is being a target man, where you can just spray this ball to him and he's able to either knock it down or
Yeah.
counter press really well to actually progress you up the pitch. Yeah, I don't think that's
Yeah, because they're
us,
low
but
percentage. It's a lot of
that's the thing. I
interception
don't think
stuff.
that's us at all. But I guess Arteta had this idea of
Yeah, you guys are like, if the you're like, you guys are like a whole finesse team. I feel like you guys wanted to be this more Holland, Man City type of. We build up and try and get those big moments. Like you would have probably changed a lot of your signings. I think what makes you guys special is like most guys can't say they have Martinelli, a Jesus, and a Saka on the same team. Not in terms of even name recognition, but like having all of those same player types in your front three, and that you're
right. They're
okay.
ballers.
Anyway, you know what I meant. But like like Jesus, like someone who you'd say, okay, this is someone who can genuinely get you like a good amount of goals, great decision maker in the final third. He's a threat at all three stages to positively move you forward. And like he's willing to drop down and help someone like Rice and then always be up and prepared to connect plays with Saka, connect plays with Martinelli, score himself. Like it's rare to find a midfielder like that. And then you have Martinelli himself, who like we've seen how versatile he can be working from the wing, going inside when he's had to do a center forward role himself. He's not as involved helping in build up play, but that's not really his thing. And then even your wing backs and your more yeah.
Even now, he's leading
No,
the
I
league
think
in
I think
expected assists.
no, Saka's been a creative hub. I mean, like I don't know why last year or the few years before that, when I would watch Saka, you know what I'm talking about, like it was the equivalent, like, if he had single coverage, like, pure single coverage, and there was a lot of open space behind him, or not a lot of open space, but semi-open space, then he would press through, right? But for some reason, when I was watching, like, last year, if there was, like, one guy, like, shading him, let's say the number 3
It
guy,
didn't even
right?
matter.
Like,
Yeah,
press him back a little bit. He just gets discouraged and would automatically pass back to White when like he needs to be more aggressive pressing laterally, like getting back by his man. If he goes inside here, like if he goes inside here,
yeah. So
yeah, but
that's one of the main
you just
issues.
gotta take that though. Like all the wingers take.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's had an Achilles injury since I think
Oh, okay.
April.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
he's been playing through that, and I guess he's trying to protect his body from that. But yeah, and I really think like again, him being able to receive the ball here, where more often than not he's 1 against 1 and able to, because like the thing with Saka that makes him different to other wingers is his intelligence. Like the way he's able to receive the ball, like better than most midfielders in the world. The way he's able to play it off other people. The way he's able to
No, I
use his
agree.
upper body strength really strongly.
Yeah, like people hate on Saka because if you compare, well, first of all, I don't get it because the other top wingers they bring up have sometimes even more concerns as ball carriers. But like when it comes to compared to like the traditional best in the world wingers, right? Like
Right.
Saka's ball carrying, yeah, like his style is very it's not as creative, but he's very physical and he can turn the corner really quickly. And I just think like his physicality, like I used to
I would think, yeah, he's not aesthetically as nice as like
Yeah, yeah. Like
I don't know.
he's the equivalent of like he would rather spam like five what's it called pivot turns and get inside, then like try and do some nice over what's it called? Like I'm butchering the name, but like a overstep. You know what I'm talking about, where you loop
Yeah, like a
your
step over kind of thing. Yeah,
yeah,
he's
he
not.
would rather
Yeah,
do he doesn't care about that really. He'd really
I
just
do
do a
think
normal outside foot
if we
push
want to
and he's good.
develop him as a winger long term,
Mhm.
I think he has to be better at kind of, like you said, not necessarily going at these two players, but being able to attack the byline and then dribble
Exactly. Because
across
yeah,
the byline.
even guys who aren't even wingers like Messi, he's dominant doing that shit, and it changes
Yeah,
how you guard. It changes how you defend him like entirely. Like
like,
Alonso was talking about. 'Cause once he can do that, think about this. Now you're gonna start teaching Jesus to start overlapping the number four. You're gonna make your teammates just naturally all be ready to slide in those situations. And I
and
think
that's
Saka has that
something
potential because go ahead.
Arteta does love that. Like when he was coaching Man City, he taught Sterling and Sane exactly how to do that exact movement. They couldn't do it before he got there, and he taught them how to do it.
No,
And
Sane was
Sane was
special,
killing
man.
boys.
He
Like,
was special,
so
man.
it's
Honestly,
clearly something he
Sane,
wants,
yeah.
but it's I guess
No,
it's difficult to create the conditions for that without.
no, I get why he does. No, because most of your guys like final third stuff does revolve around if Saka is not going to be able to get across inside laterally, then he's not going to progress. I don't think you guys
Yeah,
have worked as much on like what you guys should do if he gets past the 11, and he should be looking to make that pass from across because that's a
that's
whole
kind of what
different
happened
style.
in the Liverpool game, right? Like
Because if you
he
even
was
watch his
getting past
highlights, not to cut you off.
he was
Go
getting
ahead,
past
go
his
ahead.
guy. He was putting a really good
Mhm.
ball into the box, but we don't have a box presence to attack this ball. Like Jesus would be over here because that's
And
his
this will
game
be
isn't
one of
to
the
be
few
here.
times. One of the few times, yeah, because Jesus is the guy you give it to him outside of the box, and he's able to go
Yeah,
and come inside. And that's why Saka's always coming inside from the right. And you even seen in his highlights for when he's passing or goals, he's coming inside from the right. He's so now Shevchenko and Jesus are all in line with him, and then that's when they start moving forward and they
yeah,
overlap the four, so then he can make that through ball, or he can shoot. He can even shoot from that distance. Like
yeah,
once he's able to get within that, just outside the box range, he's
yeah.
shown comfortable shooting out of
Like this
here.
situation.
So exactly. So
Um,
yeah, I mean, if you can get comfortable there, that'd be really cool. Hmm.
yeah, Saka's a bit better at going for the outside and like he's really good at striking the ball on his right foot. Martinelli can't do it at all. Like Saka, a lot of his goals come from his right foot and him just blasting it near post with his right foot. Like even yesterday, he scored with his right foot. So at least he has that option. Yeah, he drills it into the far corner. But like Martinelli is very dependent. Like a lot of our players have this one-footedness. Like Odegaard is probably the most one-footed player I've ever seen. But it is what it is. And like yesterday in this situation, like one thing I also liked was Rice was able to receive the ball here rather than in the middle of the block. He was able to receive it outside of the block, and that kind of helps to bypass his weaknesses, if you want to call them that.
Yeah, I think yeah, stuff like that where, and that's another thing where you said where you guys need to start thinking more about. I mean, Arteta's obviously from that tree, so he knows it, but sometimes he falls into that trap of Rice can be creative in all in these zones, but it has to be centrally.
Is that their first win in like 8?
Yeah, it is actually. No, they lost their last seven. Sorry, I had to be
Damn.
accurate. Um, nah. Rice has usually would operate between, let's say, the size of the box, right? Or sorry, the size of the circle. My fault. Like he'd be in that space, no matter what part of the, no matter what part of the what phase you're in. Like he'd be where Saliba is usually, right?
Yeah,
And Arteta doesn't really teach him to, okay, now that we're in this final phase, I want you moving up into these, just be a support piece. It doesn't matter if it's on that side or the opposite side. It's probably going to be end up on more on the what's the word? On the right side because like Saka's needs the help the most there, and
yeah,
then White can press up as well. Like it's just better for him to be there. So just even teaching minor stuff like that is gonna change the game for you guys.
I mean,
Whereas
in that
right now, I feel
screenshot here, he's
exactly like,
he's
and
over there.
that's
Oh no, sorry,
over
he's over
there.
here.
See,
But he like
still, that's better
someone's
than him just
rotated
being
into that
purely
position.
centered. Yeah, usually he'd be dropped back for some reason when that's not really doing anything. So I think
Yeah.
like no, but that's I feel like that's the stuff that you're first of all, this is match 23. So it's like this is the stuff where you should start picking up on cuz I mean, you want to first have in those first 20 games like the main formation down. Like Rice most of the time should be looking to just like stay within that box and work on, holding up defensively, which is fine. Uh, but now that you guys are like pretty confident in your ideas and guys are getting more healthy, like with Smith Rowe being able to play a good role, like Rice should be looking to be also advantageous offensively
Yeah.
because like you have all this space centrally, you have so many guys in the box, and the whole benefit of having all these ball handlers is that like you can have Odegaard and Smith Rowe since they're always in supporting roles. Not only are they like supporting you offensively, but also defensively, because it's not as though like you've just completely given up positioning and that like
Yeah.
everyone's so far up. So I think so. Yeah,
And
like supporting role is super deadly for like both offense and defense when you're in their final third. Go ahead, sir.
especially with Rice, like what he's able to do as you're transitioning between attacking and defending, like he's the only player in the world that can cover ground like he can. Like he can come from this position, and by the time the opposing team has moved the ball here, he's already putting in a tackle here, putting pressure here. Like
Hmm.
that's the main that's the main reason you buy him. Like he just covers ground like no one like bro, I
Hmm.
can't think of
And then
like
now,
any
and then
many players in football history can do what he can do.
yeah, and then now Odegaard's taking away number 6, so number 9's gonna
Yeah.
pass back to the 8.
And then all
And
of a
then now that
sudden we're
reset.
back
You're just
in we're back in business.
exactly back to normal defense. So
Like
it's
just
like,
his
yeah,
ability to
I mean,
kind of delay, if you want to call it like a delay in transition kind of thing.
yeah.
Or like if I show you an extreme situation, I
Oh
wonder
man.
if I can find the video. I probably can't. Damn, that's annoying. Here, right?
Right.
He was against 5 players, and he was able to delay the ball just enough, just because of him being like the best transition defender ever. He was able to delay the ball just enough as to where Liverpool end up
But so who
missing. I need to find this video, bro, because the video just makes it
nah,
seem.
like I gotta see the context. The context is insane.
No, I'm gonna just find the highlights of the game, and then it will be there.
It's never ordinary at Bet365.
A golden chance.
Both of them really.
Yes, Gomez.
No, that
Oh,
that's
he's
it, bro.
poor defending. Marcel.
It's just Saka out by
Yeah.
Gomez. Breaks for Salah, and Liverpool have numbers. No
yo, how did they not score this though?
Salah.
He delays just enough as to where this shot is uncomfortable, and he eventually gets it off.
Has thumped it against the bar. To say they had an over.
Like he delays Salah, and he cuts off that pass to the left side,
Was
while
to
also opening up the ball just enough as to where Trent can't fire it into the far corner.
understand.
So the little things.
Nah, but honestly, bro, that's why I feel like, well, at least I feel like you should have one man when you have like a multiple like that. One of your guys should at least be
in line
That
with
yeah,
Salah,
that
because then Salah can
situation
just go.
should never happen. Really, you should have like at least 2-3 players back. But that's just an example of how crazy this guy is, to where he can defend this entire zone by himself and eventually like decrease the shot quality of the opposition.
I got Scudamore. Wait, hold on. I got Scudamore on timeout. Nah, bruh.
I'm probably gonna dip now. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's all good, bruh.
All right, no.